श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्। वन्दे गुरुणां चरणारविन्दे साहस्रशिरसां 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 श्वेतं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्। वन्दे गुरूणां चरणारविन्दे साहस्रशिरसां 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 श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् वन्दे गुरूणां चरणारविन्दे साहस्रशिरसां श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् वन्दे गुरूणां चरणारविन्दे वन्दे गुरूणां चरणारविन्दे साहस्रशिरसां श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् 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 वन्दे गुरूणां चरणारविन्दे प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् वन्दे गुरुणां चरणारविन्दे साहस्रशिरसां श्वेतं 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 प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् वन्दे गुरुणां चरणारविन्दे
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the GunTour. Now, this is a very special episode because this is our second live stream in a very long time. The last live stream was about the launch of the Chandrayaan-3. This is about the moon landing. This is going to be a very important episode, a very important moment in Indian history. That is why we're going to be observing it and seeing how it goes. Hopefully, it'll all go well. Don't forget to share the link with your friends and family so that they can all watch this live stream on our GunTour channel. So stay tuned. Pause. Something wrong with the translation. We're having some technical difficulties, guys. Just wait 1 second. We're pausing the translation. Я ничего не слушаю. Well, what we're seeing right now is all the scientists of the ISRO, they're just observing the trajectory of the Chandrayaan-3, the moon landing. Now, this is very important that we get this right, because the last time with the Chandrayaan-2, the trajectory, something went wrong with the maneuver, the final maneuvering of the Chandrayaan-2. That's why the landing got screwed up, and we had a very hard landing instead of a soft landing. Now, this is very important because this is the most difficult part of the whole moon landing process. And the reason behind that is um, the maneuver to align the moon lander in a proper way so that it lands on the moon without any hurdles, without any bumps. It's a very hard procedure. A lot of calculations, a lot of the gyro sensors are working. Um, it's a very tough moment. Hopefully, we'll get it right this time. This I can just imagine what the scientists and the engineers are going through right now. All the blood, sweat, and tears over the last 4 years, the recalculations, all the re-engineering is. Как гасился звук? Почему? I'm sorry we lost you there for a moment. We're still experiencing some technical difficulties. Because I mean it's our second live stream, so guys, give us a break. The moon landing, the whole procedure will start soon. I think in about 15-20 minutes, and we will be focusing on how the whole process goes. Hopefully, it will go very smoothly. As you know, a couple of days ago, we had a tragedy when the Luna 25, the Russian moon mission, it had a hard landing on the south side of the moon, and we lost the moon lander. I mean, this just goes to show how difficult this whole process is. We have landed a few times, not us, not the Indians, but mankind. We have landed on the moon a couple of times, but it was on the equatorial region. It wasn't on the south side of the moon. Landing on the south side of the moon is very, very complicated. No one in the world has yet conquered the south side of the moon. Neither the Europeans, the Russians, neither the Americans. So it's a very important moment for us Indians because we can really set a world record, universal record actually, because this is not happening on Earth, it's happening on the south side of the moon. So, guys, stay tuned, share this link with your friends and family. We're eagerly waiting for the process to start. I mean, I'm sweating already because I can just feel what the scientists and the engineers are going through at this moment. It's just mind-blowing.
What do you think about Luna 25 mission from Russia?
Well, the Luna 25 mission was a very, very important mission. The Russians invested a lot of money, a lot of time on the Luna 25 mission, but it was the first moon mission conducted by the Russians in 50 years. That's very important because over the last 50 years, neither NASA nor the Russians did any particularly important moon missions. The Luna 25 was critical for space research because it was carrying a lot of sensors. It was carrying special sensors. It was carrying spectrometers. It was carrying a lot of scientific equipment that would monitor the lunar surface, that would gather very important data. Let's see what this lady is saying of the representative of ISRO.
To the power descent start, as well as the path that will be followed by the lander module. We are 18 minutes away from the commencement of power descent. India is at the brink of creating history.
Guys,
as we all
we
await
are
with bated
18
breath
minutes
to
away
witness
from
the
the
landing of moon
descent
South
towards the
Polar
moon. It's very important that we have a soft landing, not a hard landing like last time. The difference between a hard landing and a soft landing is that a hard landing is basically a crash. The Chandrayaan-2 crashed, that was a hard landing. The Luna 25 crashed. Hopefully the Chandrayaan-3 won't crash. I'm not gonna jinx it by saying that everything will go smoothly. It all depends on how smoothly the realignment maneuver goes, because when the moon lander, the Vikram lander, is going to be descending on the moon, it will go through a realignment maneuver. It will be hurtling towards the moon at a speed of 1.5 kilometers a second. That's when the boosters switch on and properly realign the moon lander so that it lands on all 4 legs. Otherwise, it might land on its head, and that would be again a hard landing, and we would lose the moon lander like we lost the Chandrayaan-2 and the Luna 25. I was very disappointed when we lost Luna 25 because that piece of equipment was carrying a lot of tech, and it would survive for more than 100 lunar days on the moon. The Chandrayaan-3 would survive, if everything goes smoothly, God willing, it would survive 1 lunar day on the moon. That is 14 Earth days. Now, why would it survive for such a short time? Just one day, because at night, during the lunar night, the temperatures on the south side of the moon will drop to minus 250 degrees Celsius. All the equipment will freeze up, everything, all the electronics will go haywire, and that's when the mission will come to an end. But that's the whole point. We are not trying to stay there for too long. We're just going to be gathering all the essential data in those 14 Earth days or 1 lunar day, and we will be understanding what's happening on the surface of the moon, more importantly on the south side of the moon, because as NASA said, the south side of the moon is filled with intrigue, science, and mysteries, because we don't know what is there, because no one has ever landed or had a soft landing on the soft side of the moon. Let's see what ISRO is talking about right now.
द्वारा सफलतापूर्वक प्रक्षेपित किया गया था और आज भी लगभग 4 साल बाद यह चंद्रमा के 100 किलोमीटर के सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट में घूमते हुए बहुत ही उत्तम क्वालिटी का डेटा प्रदान कर रहा है। मिशन के प्रारंभ में इसकी आयु 1 साल निर्धारित की गई थी, परंतु LVM-3 द्वारा बहुत ही सटीक इंजेक्शन और मिशन मैनेजमेंट की वजह से चंद्रयान-2 काफ़ी लंबे समय तक कार्यरत रहेगा। अब तक चंद्रयान-2 चंद्रमा के लगभग सभी भागों का चित्र ले चुका है। इसका एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण पेलोड OHRC यानी कि ऑर्बिटर हाई रेजोल्यूशन कैमरा विश्व का सबसे बेहतरीन कैमरा है, जो कि चंद्रमा की सतह का लगातार पिक्चर भेज रहा है। अब मैं ROC जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो आप लोगों को इसरो के वर्तमान मिशन चंद्रयान-3 के बारे में बताएं।
अभी आपने मिश्रा जी के द्वारा सुना इसरो के अब तक के लूनार मिशंस का विवरण। अब चलते हैं टुवर्ड्स Chandrayaan-3, the follow-up mission of Chandrayaan-2, which has been designed to accomplish our mission goals. The primary
Guys,
objective
we're
of
back.
Chandrayaan-3 mission is the
Thanks for staying with us.
demonstration
Again,
of safe
I
and
just want to
sound
remind you that
landing
this is our
on the
second
lunar
live
surface.
stream at the GunTour.
This
Please share this
demonstration
link
is a critical
with
aspect
your friends and
of
family,
physical
because
future
we
interplanetary missions.
will be showing you the
Initial phase,
Chandrayaan-3's
the
moon
mission
landing in a
objectives
very
also
interesting way.
include
It's like watching a
demonstration
football
of
match.
roving capability
If you're
and
watching a football
conduction
match
of
in silence,
in
it's
situ
not that
scientific
interesting. But if you have an
experiments on moon's
interesting
surface.
commentator on during the
Carried on the
football match, you
shoulders
will
of
have
India's
a lot
heaviest
more
rocket,
fun than watching just
LVM-3,
some boring
on the
live stream,
14th of
some
July.
boring videos.
Chandrayaan-3 was
That's
placed
very
in the
important.
precise elliptic parking orbit of size
And
170 by
guys, we are just
36,500
experiencing
kilometers.
some technical difficulties
ISRO,
at the
in
moment.
its
I
mission
don't
plan
know
of
why
following the
I'm
incremental
hearing
trajectory approach,
the
carried a total
audio
of
2
5
times, and
earthbound
that's
maneuvers.
really disturbing me. But
The
again,
fifth
I mean,
apogee
it's
raising
expected.
maneuver,
It's our
which
second
took
live stream. We
place
don't
on
do
the
this
25th of
very,
July,
very often.
placed the spacecraft in an orbit
Just
of
give us a
250
minute,
by
and we'll come back
127,000
very soon.
kilometers. At the early hours of 1st August, the translunar injection was carried out, after which the composite module began the final leg of its long journey of nearly 384,000 kilometers for its rendezvous with the moon. The TLI was a key step in the mission, enabling the spacecraft to escape Earth's gravitational pull and travel to the moon. An orbit of 288 by 369,328 kilometers was achieved at the end of the translunar injection.
जी हाँ, ट्रांसलूनर इंजेक्शन किसी भी इंटरप्लेनेटरी मिशन के लिए बहुत ही आवश्यक परंतु कठिन ऑपरेशन होता है। इस सफल मैन्यूवर के बाद चंद्रयान-3 पृथ्वी से दूर निकलकर चंद्रमा के प्रभाव क्षेत्र में एक हाइपरबोलिक ट्रेजेक्टरी के द्वारा पहुंचाया गया। पुनः 5 अगस्त 2023 को lunar orbit insertion
Guys,
के
we're
द्वारा
back. We
चंद्रयान
solved our
3
audio issues because
160
my
किलोमीटर के
microphone
very
was
long
getting
और
the audio of the
18,000
translation
किलोमीटर
again
के upper wing के
of the
साथ
live stream,
चंद्रमा के
and that was
elliptical
disturbing
orbit
the
में
audio
स्थापित कर
quality.
दिया गया।
Otherwise,
TLI के तरह
we
LOI
will
भी
be looking
एक
at the
बहुत जटिल ऑपरेशन
Chandrayaan-3's
होता है।
moon landing. The Vikram lander, I
हमें
hope,
यह
will
ध्यान
land
देना आवश्यक
smoothly
होता है
on the
कि
lunar surface. That's
उपग्रह के
very, very
वेगमान
important
को
because
एक निश्चित बिंदु से घटाया जा
it will be a
सके।
very huge leap for
अन्यथा
mankind.
उपग्रह
As you
चंद्रमा के
understand,
प्रभाव क्षेत्र से
nobody has
बाहर निकल
ever
जाएगा।
managed to do a soft landing on the south side of the moon. The south side of the moon may have water, and that's very important for future lunar missions or even making a lunar base on the moon, because as you know, water is very, very important for sustaining life. And Chandrayaan-1, when it did a hard landing on the moon many, many years ago, right, it was able to find some evidence of water, of frozen water on the south side of the moon. That is why the Chandrayaan-2 and Chandrayaan-3 are specially developed to find concrete evidence of there being water on the south side of the moon. All the future lunar missions will take a lot of help from this particular mission if this goes successfully. And as you understand, the Russians were trying to do the same with the Luna 25. The Luna 25 was actually much faster than the Chandrayaan-3 because it had a lot more rocket power, let's say. It was not using the power of the gravitational force of the Earth and the Moon to power through space. It was actually using its own rockets. The Chandrayaan-3, because we had a lot of budget restrictions, we weren't able to invest too much in rocket propulsion during the final stages of the moon landing, of traveling through space. So we took a lot more time. We took about 40 days to reach the moon. So as you understand, how did the moon mission start? First, we had the launch. The GSLM-3 rocket launched us into the Earth orbit, and we use a method, it's called the slingshot method. We do a few orbits around the Earth. That's how we gather speed and momentum, and then we exit the orbit through rocket propulsion, and then we hurtle through space towards the moon at very high speeds. But of course, if we had additional rocket propulsion, like the Russians did, or the Americans or the Chinese, we would make this journey in about 4 days. Otherwise, using the gravitational energy, the gravitational forces of the moon and Earth, we took about 40 days to reach the moon. Now, the final stage of this whole mission is going to be the moon landing itself, when the Vikram lander will detach from the orbiter and start going towards the moon, landing towards the moon. That's very, very important. And we're just going to be looking at what the ISRO scientists and the representatives have to say at the moment. They're just showing us the various modules, the various components of the moon lander. If you were there during our last live stream, you would see that the Chandrayaan-3 has a lot of spectrometers, the shape sensor, all the cameras and all the other sensors to map the south surface of the moon. We were able to put a lot of tech on a very small module with very limited budget, and that is something that only ISRO can do, and hopefully it will go successfully. Guys, we will be back soon. Don't log off, stay with us, and see you soon.
Landing site, since there is a possibility of finding ice and other minerals which would be vital resources for future explorers. Apart from continuing investigations pioneered by Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2, the Chandrayaan-3 mission will also provide invaluable data to the science community around the world. Let us give our viewers a glimpse on the configuration of Chandrayaan-3 mission.
You're up.
Guys, we are going to be answering some questions that we have received on the comment sections. Feel free to ask any question. Write your questions in the comment sections on the right. That is very, very good. As you know, we will be answering all your questions, but I do have to tell you one thing. I'm not an astronomer, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a physicist. So whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt. But still, I've read a lot about the space missions by NASA, by the Russians, by the Chinese, and by ISRO. So I do have an idea of what I'm talking about. It's not just complete nonsense. So, first question, Boris, is it to test ice on the moon? I don't know how you would test ice on the moon, but the Chandrayaan-1 managed to find some evidence of there being water, ice on the moon. This particular mission, if it goes successfully, it will find concrete evidence of there being ice or water on the south side of the lunar surface. That is very important, again, because we will be conducting future lunar missions. We might even build a lunar base. And of course, water is essential for life support. And if there is water on the lunar surface, as you know, it is H2O, we can separate the hydrogen molecules and the oxygen molecules because, and they're both very, very inflammable. So we can use them as energy and as something to breathe. So that is very important for there to be water on the lunar surface. We will find in the upcoming days, weeks, if everything goes very smoothly, we will find if there is actually water on the surface or not. And of course, that data will help plan future lunar missions, not just by ISRO, not just by us, but by NASA, by Roscosmos, which is the Russian space agency, and all the other space agencies. What they changed in Chandrayaan-3 in the landing system. Now, that's a very good question. In the Chandrayaan-3 Vikram lander, they added additional propulsion systems. So it is a bit more powerful as it is carrying more fuel. And also it has more radar systems and more gyro sensors so that it will help in the realignment of the lander mid-flight as it comes towards the surface of the moon, because it's going at a speed of 1.5 kilometers a second towards the lunar surface. 1.5 kilometers a second. Imagine conducting a realignment maneuver at such high speeds. You have just a few minutes to do that. And if there's even a slight miscalculation during this procedure, you will lose the lander. It will go out of control. That's exactly what happened to the Luna 25 because during the realignment procedure of the lander, they said that one of the boosters rockets were active for just a bit too long, and that just pushed the lander out of trajectory and they lost control of the lander, and it was gone. Millions and millions of dollars down the drain just because of one miscalculation. But it's all based on trial and error. The parameters for landing, the moon has a different gravitational pull than the Earth. It doesn't have an atmosphere, and we don't have too much data from the south side of the moon, so it's hard to plan a proper realignment procedure. It's hard to calculate. So the only way it can be done is through trial and error. The first Indian mission, the Chandrayaan-2, was unfortunately unsuccessful because of the fact that there was a miscalculation during the landing procedure. And the same thing happened with the Luna 25. There's just a lack of data. So it's not, I wouldn't call it a failure. I would actually call it a learning process, because you get very important data so that you can plan your next landing. Let's go to the next question. How Russian and Indian missions are so close in time. So that's actually very interesting, why the Luna 25 and the Chandrayaan-3 was so close. Like, it was happening just days. There's a difference of just a couple of days. I think because there is a race between the biggest space agencies to reach the south side of the moon, because that is something that no one has done yet. That's why. But I'm not saying that this was not a coincidence or this was a coincidence. It might perfectly be a coincidence, but we cannot rule it out that it wasn't a coincidence. I think the Russians really wanted to reach the moon first, but unfortunately they didn't make it. I'm not saying that I want India or Russia or USA to be first to the south side of the moon, because it is in the name of science. It helps all of humanity. It is a great leap forward in space research, and it doesn't matter who does it. If it's ISRO, if it's Roscosmos, if it's NASA, it doesn't matter. Everyone will will benefit from the success of any of those missions. But again, it's a matter of national pride who makes it first, right? We cannot rule that out. I mean, just imagine for a moment that if all the top space agencies in the world, ISRO, NASA, European Space Agency, Roscosmos, if they just combine, join forces, if the top brains of all these space agencies with their massive budgets, right, if they just join forces and conduct space missions together, I think it would be a lot more efficient, and it would be a uniting factor among civilizations, right? We have the great Indian civilization, Chinese, European civilizations. Just imagine if they just all join forces and do this. It would be a beautiful moment for mankind. But alas, national interests do come in the way, and of course political differences between nations do come in the way of that happening. That's why the International Space Station was the only successful union of space agencies, I would say. But of course, that too is coming to an end due to the current political crisis, the political turmoil that is happening in the world right now. Let's get back to the Chandrayaan-3. The question that was asked, what are the real differences between Chandrayaan-2 and Chandrayaan-3? Again, it's the landing systems, I think. The landing systems in the Chandrayaan-3 are much more advanced than the Chandrayaan-2. We have taken into consideration the inadequacies of the Chandrayaan-2, and we have worked on it, and we have developed different systems for the landing process. More sensors, more gyro sensors, radar systems to map the lunar surface to have a proper soft landing. And that is very important. And I think the new calculations that are going to be made during the lunar phase will ensure a soft landing. I have no doubt in that. I completely trust my ISRO scientists and engineers, all the sweat, blood, and tears that they have spent on this mission. I just can't imagine what they're thinking at this moment, what they're going through. I cannot begin to put into words the terror they're probably feeling at the moment. But I do understand them. I mean, in any project you put a lot of soul, a lot of energy into. For example, during the GunTour, when we were just starting the GunTour, there were so many emotions. I put in everything, all my blood, sweat, and tears into the GunTour project. And my only hope, my only wish during this time is for the GunTour channel to be successful. And if anything goes wrong, that will just break my heart. So I do understand what the ISRO scientists are feeling at the moment. It's their baby, it's their project. They want it to grow, they want it to shine. And everything rests on just a few minutes of some mid-flight maneuvers that nobody can really calculate. I mean, just imagine, like, you don't know the factors, you don't know the variables, and you're trying to work them out and make sure this whole thing, hurtling at 1.5 kilometers a second, realigns itself and lands on the moon. That is something very difficult. It's different from the earlier moon missions because when you land on the equator of the moon, it's much simpler. It has been done many times. I don't know why, though, that it was much simpler. I think because there's a difference in the gravitational pull and the alignment procedures when you're landing on the south side of the moon. Because this whole race, the whole space race at the moment for the moon is, the moon race, let's call it the moon race, is about the south side of the moon. Everything else has been done. You've mapped out the equatorial regions of the moon, and the south side is left. And the south side is actually the most mysterious one. It may have some resources, some rare metals that we don't even have on Earth. It will allow us to understand how the evolution of water happened, because the water that might be stored on the south side of the moon, it is billions and billions of years old. It's frozen there, and the elements that it may carry will give us a hint or a glance into the history or the evolution of life, because it's the same water that encouraged life on Earth. So I know it's very, very hard to comprehend how water will tell us the history of life and evolution on Earth. But that's what we're going to do. The spectrometers that are on the Chandrayaan-3, right, they will be measuring the lunar surface. They'll be checking what's on the lunar surface, and they might even be able to get some samples of the resources, of the substances that are on the lunar surface, and probably even do some calculations on them. And that will just enable us to understand what is left out on the south side of the moon, what we really need to focus on, and where we have to go ahead. Guys, this is the Gun Tour. Do share this link with all your friends and family. Write us questions in the comment section below. We'll try to answer all of them. I will just take a breath and I'll see you in a minute.
The lander module has traveled a distance of approximately 228 kilometers. The complete downrange that will be traveled during this phase shall be nearly 713.5 kilometers.
जी हाँ, कुल 745 किलोमीटर के इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज में आप देख सकते हैं कि हम लोग लगभग अपनी यात्रा 20% कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं।
Guys, so according to ISRO at the moment, the 20% of the journey towards the moon is complete, and they will, I think the Vikram lander, the Vikram lander will reach the moon very soon. We'll see how that happens. I mean, I'm trying to understand when the landing process starts. I think it's already started. And just look at the faces of all these scientists. They're just fully concentrated on their screens, looking at the numbers, calculating, recalculating. All the permutations and the combinations are going through their heads right now. They're fully reliant on the computers on the moon lander so that it can conduct a proper realignment maneuver at 1.5 kilometers per second as it hurtles towards the moon. Let's just hear what they're saying.
आगे चलते हुए बढ़ रहा है। अभी तक ये देखा जा सकता है कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल लगभग 370 किलोमीटर क्षैतिज दिशा में चल चुका है।
All right, the lander module is hurtling towards the moon. It's done about 400 kilometers, and it's reanalyzing the data
and the concentration with which each and every parameter of the lander module is being analyzed. The performance.
So guys, I mean, we're still in the middle of the landing process, and it's not too far from the moon. The moment is very close, and like it's just giving me goosebumps at the moment, just thinking about this whole process. I just hope it all goes well. You can see actually where the lander is at the moment. It's following trajectory perfectly. On the left side of the screen, you can see where the lander is during its flight, and you can see how close it is. The descent towards the moon, the surface of the moon, is going to start very soon. Therefore, cross your fingers, pray to all the gods, whichever gods you may pray to, that this landing goes smoothly. It's very important, not just for us Indians, but for the whole world, because the data that we will gather from the surface of the moon will help mankind further in its research for space exploration, for moon exploration, to further humanity into space. And that is something very, very beautiful, guys. I mean, I want to tell you something very interesting. So when the Luna 25, the Russian moon lander from Roscosmos, had a hard landing on the moon, there were a lot of people in the world that were very, very happy about it. And I just don't understand these people. I wouldn't even call them normal people, because how can you be happy if a space agency fails in its endeavors to do something good in the name of science? How can you bring politics into science? If you don't like a country or people, doesn't mean you have to be happy when there's a hurdle in their endeavors for research, for science, for space exploration. this is not just
आप screen
a
पर ये भी देख
national
सकते
thing.
हैं,
This is something that is important
Chandrayaan-3
to the
lander
entire
imager
world.
display.
And all
The
these
lander
people who are
imager is
celebrating the
continuously
failure
giving
of
is
a particular
continuously
nation
taking
or of
photographs
a
of the moon
particular space
surface, and
agency,
that is also
I'm
being
sure
streamed
if
here.
something goes wrong
Currently, the
with
horizontal velocity
our moon lander, our Vikram
has
moon
been
lander,
brought down,
Chandrayaan-3,
and
right?
the distance
I'm sure
traveled
there
is
will be some people in the world that are going to be
574
celebrating, like,
kilometers.
oh, great,
The
that
current
happened.
altitude
And I
is
just have something to
27
tell you. I
kilometers,
think
as
you
can
guys
be
need to
seen on the screen.
open your minds and understand that we're not,
जी हाँ
this is not a political
करीब
statement. This is
अपने
not a
आधे
political
सफर को
thing. This
पूरा
is,
करते
we are
हुए
doing
इस
this
breaking
for
phase
the
में
for the
लैंडर
betterment
रोड
of
की आगे
humanity
की
and
तरफ
space
बढ़ते हुए
research.
अपनी
Don't bring
ऊंचाई को
politics
घटा रहा है
into
अगर आप बात
science.
करें
That
तो
is a
लैंडर
very
की ऊंचाई
foolish thing to
चंद्रमा
do.
के सतह से
And
लगभग
let's go
27
to the
किलोमीटर
next
से नीचे हो
questions on the
चुकी है
comment section. Guys, I just
करीब
want to remind you, the
26.7
comment
किलोमीटर
section
के
is
आसपास
a mess. Enter it, write your questions there. We'll
The
answer
next
everything.
phase after the rough breaking
Alex,
phase
may
is the
India
attitude
succeed.
hold phase,
Thanks, Alex.
which will
That's very
be
kind
for a
of you.
duration of
Again,
nearly
I would
10
like to
seconds.
repeat that it's
The
not
lander will
just
be
about
oriented
India.
such that
Us,
both
the Indians,
altimeters will be
the
looking
Indian Space
exactly
Research
towards the moon's
Organization,
surface.
succeeding
At
in
the
this
end
mission
of this
will be
attitude
something
hold
for the
phase,
world.
height measurement update to
The
navigation
data that we
system
will
be given
gather
from
from
the
the lunar
laser
surface,
and
from the
Ka-band
south side
altimeters.
of the lunar surface,
Currently,
will
we are in the
will
middle of
help
the rough breaking
further
phase.
space missions, will help space research in general. So yeah, may India succeed. May all space research missions succeed, right? Does Boris, does Indian mission have more chances to succeed than the Russian Luna 25? Well, Boris, I don't know if you've been watching the news. The Luna 25 mission unfortunately had a hard landing on the lunar surface. So the Luna 25 mission is actually over. I think the Luna 27 or the 28, if I'm not mistaken, there will be another moon mission by Roscosmos. And I think they'll make another attempt towards the moon, and I hope and I think they will succeed. The Russians are very smart as well.
lander from ground is currently 12 kilometers.
YT. Let's go to the next question.
22 kilometer, which is
Could you please
again
clarify
coming
what
down,
makes you qualified to
and that is
comment on this?
expected.
India for everyone.
For the
Guys,
viewers who have joined
as I said
now,
earlier,
we
write
are
your
in,
questions in the comment
we
section
are
below.
in
We
the
have very
power
smart
descent
people
phase,
working
and we
for
are in
us
the
on
rough
the
braking
GunTour
phase,
channel.
which is the first
These
phase of
people
the power
have
descent.
been watching
we have
moon
currently
missions,
traveled
the
a
space
downrange
missions,
of
and analyzing them
697
to the
kilometers.
last atom. So
And,
I'm not saying we're
the
the
dra-
most
the
qualified
downrange
people to
that has to
comment
be
on
traveled
all
during
these
this
things,
phase
but
is
we have a lot of
713.5
information on
kilometers.
our hands. We have analyzed that information. Of course, we're not astronomers, we're not engineers, right? But we do have what's called something that's called common sense. We have all a basic understanding of how things work and how things are supposed to work. I mean, no less than you, India for everyone. We do think, of course, we cannot compare ourselves to the engineers at ISRO. They are the top minds they're the top minds right now to answer all these questions. But unfortunately, they're a bit busy at the moment. I think they're conducting a moon mission, so they're the only people that you can ask very
Space
complicated
के बाद
questions to. But we will still answer all your
जाएंगे
questions.
towards
Write them in the comment
the
section below. And
attitude hold
let's
phase.
go to the next question.
where we will be expecting sensor update from the laser and Ka-band altimeters.
India for everyone, you are very funny. we
We
will,
can see the
we are
visualization
using
of the
common
lander
sense,
module.
and we have researched a lot
the
about our
moon's
moon
surface.
missions.
The current
That we
altitude
were
is nearly
closely watching the
15.2
Chandrayaan-2
kilometers,
moon mission
and the
and
distance
the
traveled
Luna
is
25
754
and
kilometers.
now the
We can
Chandrayaan-3.
also see
I
the
covered
image that
the
lander
Chandrayaan-3
imager camera
mission
has been provided.
when it was launching, and now we are covering it as it lands, and hopefully it will land. So if you have any other questions, please write us in the comment section below. Guys, this is our second live stream by the GunTour, so please share the link with your friends and family. Let them watch this amazing live stream, because not many people are commenting live on this other than our guys at ISRO. But I think we're doing it in a very interesting way. And of course, we're doing it in English, so everyone in the world can watch
After
and
the rough
understand
braking and
what's
the
happening at the
attitude
moment
hold phase, we
in
shall
the
be having
headquarters
fire
at
braking
ISRO,
phase, which will continue for
in
nearly
the
3
whole
minutes.
area. Let's see where the moon lander
The whole
is
phase
at the
being
moment.
driven by the autonomous autonomous landing sequencer, and
we
there
are
is no
we are
intervention
we're
from
going to
ground.
head back towards the live stream by ISRO, and I just cannot imagine what these scientists at ISRO are going through.
जो करंट आल्टीट्यूड है चंद्रमा के सतह से लगभग लगभग 10 किलोमीटर के आसपास है। जी हाँ, हम अपने जी हाँ, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी हम सभी का उत्साहवर्धन करने के लिए दक्षिणी अफ्रीका के जोहानसबर्ग से जुड़ गए हैं।
Guys, we're back with the live stream, our second live stream by the GunTour, and let's see where the moonlander is at the moment. I think it's very close to the moon at the moment.
Yes, we are privileged
And
to have with us Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has joined
I'm
us
sorry,
from South
guys. I
Africa,
think I lost
Johannesburg, to
live
encourage
stream
us.
for a second there.
जी हाँ, आप ये देख
We'll be
सकते
back
हैं
in a second.
एल्टीट्यूड होल्ड फेस भी बहुत ही आसानी से लैंडर फेस ने पार कर लिया है और अब फाइन ब्रेकिंग की शुरुआत हो चुकी है। अभी हम ये देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई लगभग 5.6 किलोमीटर है, जो कि इस फेस के उपरांत लगभग 800 मीटर हो जाएगी।
So guys, we're back. I managed to fix my issue with the live stream.
We can
The
hear
thing
from
is that I have
mission
two screens in front of me
operations
at the moment,
team
and
that
I
the
do get
sensors
confused
are
sometimes
performing
which
nominally.
screen to focus on. So,
And we are currently in the midst of the
as you know,
fine
we are
breaking
very
phase,
close
which is going to
to the
continue
moon.
for
The
3 minutes.
communications between
And
the
the
moonlander
altitude is going to be
and
reduced to nearly
the base
800
station,
800
they're
meters
stable
at
at
the
the
end
moment.
of this phase.
The real alignment procedure is
जैसा कि आरुषि
is
ने बताया कि लगभग
is very
3
active
मिनट
at
के
the
बाद
moment, and let's just hope it all goes
लगभग 800
goes
मीटर
well.
वर्टिकल
The
होगी
speed
और यहाँ पे
is
लैंडर की
decreasing
horizontal
of the
velocity
moonlander because it
vertical
needs to slow
even
itself
down
down
range भी
to
लगभग
have a
लगभग
proper soft landing. If it hits the ground at 1.5 kilometers a
see a
second, it
visual
will
of the
crash.
lander
It will
module,
break
and
apart
we can
like the
see that
last
the downrange
Chandrayaan-3.
traveled is
So
nearly
very
831 kilometers.
complicated maneuvers are happening at the moment. The boosters are are working at full strength probably, and let's just hope it just manages to realign itself properly this time so that it can have a proper soft landing. You must understand that this is a very complicated procedure. Why is that? Because we don't have a lot of data from the south side of the moon. There is no atmosphere. There is nothing to
We are
compare it
very
with
close
because,
to the moon's
as you know,
surface,
SpaceX
nearly
manages
2.6
to
kilometers,
land
as we
its
can see.
reusable rockets back on Earth. It does the same procedures. It has all those boosters, it has all the sensors, but we know the parameters that are on the Earth's surface and in the Earth's atmosphere. But we don't know what's going on the south side of the moon. We don't have enough data. The only way to understand how to properly land on the moon is through trial and error. We already had one trial and error on the during the landing of the Chandrayaan-3. So let's see what happens.
किलोमीटर के
We are coming back to our comment section. Guys, write something in the comment section. Ask me questions. This is a very important moment in the history of our country. And of course, for GunTour as well, this is our second live stream, and we're covering. I'm proud to cover a very important moment in Indian history. We will be doing a lot more live streams soon, but we need something very cool to happen in order to cover it. Like this, like the landing of the Chandrayaan-3. So how long is the descent phase? Comni 3 is asking. I don't know. I think it all depends on this, on the landing. Guys, I think that the realignment procedure, the maneuver, is happening successfully. From what I understand from the faces of the scientists at ISRO, they're all very happy. The communications are stable, the signals are still up. Everything is hanging in the balance right now, guys. This is a very important procedure. Speed is slowing down. We're only a kilometer away from the surface of the moon, 800 meters. Oh, God, oh my God, this is something very cool. I can see in real time on my screen, you're all witnessing it, how the real alignment procedure is happening. I wish they would just turn back to the moon lander so that we can see what is happening. I think they have stabilized, the speed is stabilized, and I think the four legs of the moon lander, they are in proper alignment as it lands on the moon. It's only 800 meters away from the lunar surface, and as you can see, it has properly realigned. It is going down straight,
now being constantly reduced.
and oh my God, this is a very, very
And the landing
beautiful
module
moment,
has
guys.
begun its descent towards the landing site.
As you see, guys, this is, I don't see the altitude at the moment. Maybe there's, it's the altitude is about 500 meters, if I'm not mistaken, 600 meters, 200 meters? I don't know. Our Prime Minister Modi is also watching this, the landing. I'm sure he's also very anxious to see that that the moon lander, the Vikram lander, lands on the moon successfully. 461 meters, 453 meters, the altitude is
They're
at the
approaching
moment.
the vertical
Let's
descent
see,
phase
395
which will
meters,
have the lander module hovering at
350
nearly
meters,
150
345 meters.
above the
That
lunar
is
surface.
very, very cool. It has properly realigned itself.
जो कि
Fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen. Fingers crossed. This is the moment of truth. We're not too far away from the lunar surface.
जी हाँ, आप अगर फिर से ध्यान से देखें तो एल्टीट्यूड पुनः कम होता जा रहा है।
का-
अभी हम लोग लगभग 135 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे हैं।
The sensors that are
163
updating at
meters,
this point are providing confirmation of
120,
the safety of the landing site.
118 meters.
As expected, the retargeting is going on, and this is a very good signature for the lander. अभी आप ये देख सकते हैं कि
70,
लैंडर की ऊंचाई लगभग
75
27
meters,
मीटर के
70
आसपास
meters,
पहुंची है।
68, 65, 64. This is something very, very cool, guys.
Currently,
I
only
just can't
two
wait
engines
for this
are
moon
being
lander
fired,
to land on the moon.
and
A
we
very
are
special
currently
moment
at
for the
zero
Indian
velocity, vertical
space
and
exploration
horizontal.
history.
We were
This is
hovering
going to
and now we
be
are
a moment for the history
approaching the
books. The
moon's
first
surface.
country to have a soft landing on the moon. And it might just happen in 60 meters. Um, I hope the speed is good. They need to really lower the speed as it lands on the surface of the moon, because if it's too fast, it will break apart and the moon mission will fail. But 30 meters, 27, I think it's going down at a speed of 1 to 2 meters per second. Let's see. Oh, God. I don't see the numbers. Just look at the smile on Prime Minister Modi's face. He's so happy that this thing hasn't crashed yet. I don't think it will. And it has landed on the surface of the moon, ladies and gentlemen. The Indian Space Research Organization, the first people to actually have a soft landing on the south side of the moon. We have hit it right out of the field. This is a beautiful moment. I mean, I just need a minute to just grasp the depth of this moment, because this is something that we have all been waiting for the last 4 years, and we have finally landed. The Vikram lander, ladies and gentlemen, has landed on the lunar surface. Everything went smoothly. The data that they gathered, the data input from the Chandrayaan-3 mission paid off. That is why there is no such thing as failure. There is only trial and error in science. When you have so much riding on this mission, just look at the faces of the scientists at ISRO. They're all celebrating. I'm going to be celebrating tonight as well, because this is a very big moment for us. Let's hear what the head of the Indian Space Research Organization has to say. I'm going to be listening to this very closely.
I request our Honorable Prime Minister to address us and bless us. Thank you, sir.
मेरे प्यारे परिवारजनों,
Now our Prime Minister Modi will congratulate our scientists at ISRO and then the whole country and the whole world for having a successful soft landing on the lunar surface. I mean, he's right now in South Africa for the G20. I mean, I think he's in South Africa at the moment. He's watching this from a different country. He's there with us. And this is something, I cannot begin to imagine how proud he might be of our Indian Space Research Organization at the moment for having conducted a successful moon landing. Just so you know, nobody in the world, no space agency in the world, NASA, European Space Agency, none of them have been able to conduct a soft landing on the moon. Only the Indian Space Research Organization. This was one of the most complicated, most difficult things that mankind has done, is to land on the south side of the moon. The data and the science that we will be gathering from the south side of the moon will not just help future moon missions, but it will help in further space exploration, because we will be able to understand what's happening in space, the history, the science that we will gather from the substances that they will find on the south side of the moon. They will give us a glimpse into how materials have evolved over billions of years. The surface of the moon is very, very unique. It's not like that of the Earth. It is carrying substances that may or may not even exist on Earth. We think that the water there on the south side of the moon, even that might be different from the water that we have on Earth. So the sensors, the scientific equipment, the research equipment that the moon lander, the Vikram lander, is carrying with itself, it will help us understand most of those things. Unfortunately, or fortunately, unfortunately, it's going to be lasting only one lunar day, which is about 14 Earth days. Now, the reason behind that is because it gets really cold at night. The temperatures drop to minus 250 degrees Celsius. That will freeze up all the components on the lander. All the research equipment will freeze, and they'll just stop working. The Luna 25 missions that the Russians had sent, it had a plutonium heater within the lander that would keep the lander warm at night, a nuclear heater. Can you imagine that? And that would allow the Luna 25 lander to stay online on the south side of the moon for about 100 days. And that is something very cool. Unfortunately, we didn't have a heater on the Vikram lander, because that would just increase the weight, the cost, and might have even cost us the mission like it costed the Russians. So I think it was something very, very... I think ISRO knows what it's doing. We have, of course, our limitations. Great. Guys, I thank you for staying with us. Thank you for being with the GunTour. As you know, this was our second live stream. This is a very big moment. I still need some time to grasp the depth of this moment. And I just want to thank you for being with us. Stay tuned. Watch our other videos. You will be baffled. We've got some very interesting content for you on the channel, and much more interesting content is going to come up. We're going to be doing many more live streams as the time goes on. So, guys, thank you so much. We will see you next time.
Vande Gurunam Charanaravinde Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim. Vande Gurunam Charanaravinde Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim. Vande Gurunam Charanaravinde Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim. Vande
Сука, я говорил G20, сука, какой я тупой.
Vande Gurunam Charanaravinde Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim 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 Vande